All right.
Ready to go, Bob?
You can open the meeting, Mr. Chair. Yes, I will be right with you here.
Okay, we'll call the Board of Adjustment hearing to order. We'll have roll call. Could each person, maybe Jill, you want to start? Jill, and then Tim and Gerald and Crystal. State your name for roll call, please. Mark Teach, present.
Tim Leenow, present.
Jill, you're muted yet. Crystal, do you want to go?
Crystal Halverson, present.
Gerald Porter, present.
Okay, did Jill get unmuted? Can you unmute her, Crystal?
Jill, if you just press your space bar on your keyboard, it'll unmute you temporarily and you'll be able to talk. I did send you a request to unmute. Are you holding down the space bar? There you go.
I got it. Okay, Jill Noreen, present.
Okay. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes from the June 21st meeting? Is there a motion to approve? Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes as stated.
Is there a second?
Second. Tim
Second by
Leenow.
Tim.
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. I don't know, something's going on with my screen here. I can see Bob's cursor going around on it.
Yeah, I'm trying to just get things ready for the next piece here, Mr. Chair.
On the public comment next.
I have 3 individuals waiting to speak. Bob,
Are you ready?
Yes. So we could take those and then I can read into the records the public comments that we received via email, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Do you want to start with Bev?
Do they
Bernier?
just a minute, do they all pertain to one of the hearing applicants? There is none for the Alan Kruger, right?
I think Bev may want to speak to Alan. I don't know.
Okay, this is Bev. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, this is on the Bradley Ingram
Okay.
Yeah.
issue.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Go ahead. Now, Bev,
Okay,
I've got to swear you in.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And then
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address, please.
Beverly Bernier, N11471 765th Street, Colfax, Wisconsin 54730.
Andrea, did you get that? Must have. Okay, go ahead, Bev.
Okay, my comments would be that at this point, we have not received any land use permit request from Mr. Ingram, and we do have our ordinance which requires a minimum a 5-acre parcel per dwelling. We also don't know if there was ever a inspection done on the property. I believe there was to be one last fall. We're not sure if that did happen. Also, there was a vault privy that was issued, a permit was issued. We're not sure if that was ever installed. We also have a concern with, there's a kitchen listed on the drawing that was submitted. I'm not sure if there is plumbing to the kitchen, and if so, what happens to that water? There also was a possible 75-foot restriction. We're not sure if that was ever handled or addressed. So the main concerns, again, have not, there has not been the proper protocol followed in developing this 20 acres. So we do have concerns with, again, setting precedent and also following what our ordinances are.
Bev, just for everybody's information, I think, Bev, you are the clerk for the town of Otter Creek, right?
I'm the clerk treasurer for Town of Otter Creek, correct?
Do you have anything else to offer?
No, nothing more than I've seen Mark Warner's comments and Leanne's, and I agree with what they're both saying, and it all is very accurate and true.
Okay. Okay, Krista, who else do you have for public comment?
I have Mark Warner waiting and Rita Carroll.
You want to bring up Mark?
Okay, I asked him to unmute.
And I believe that Rita is representing Mr. Ingram. So I don't know that she's really public comment. She's the agent for Mr. Ingram.
She can have public comment if she wishes. Is that
Sure.
true, Bob?
She can. I just want to make sure that it's a public comment and it's not what she plans on speaking to with the
Okay.
variance. So
When I bring her up, we can clarify that. Mark, are you Mark, are you there?
Yes, this is Mark Warner, Chairman of the Town of Otter Creek.
I need to swear you in, Mark, before we can take testimony. Do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You stated your name. We need your address.
My address is E5847 1100 70th Avenue, Wheeler, Wisconsin, 54772.
Go ahead then, Mark.
We've gotten notification on this request, and today I was informed by Mr. Colson that what they're considering is actually different from what the notification was. We were notified, the drawing that accompanied the request showed a listing of 9 cabins, numerous outbuildings, and a kitchen. And now I've been told that the request is for something else, namely approval of 2 cabins and some associated outbuildings on the same property. So our board has not had an opportunity really to consider the request that's before your committee. Furthermore, Mr. Ingram has never made a presentation to our board on this request. So I think that just based on that, I think that it should be either delaying the action or rejecting the request. I also have a number of issues with essentially nullifying our township building ordinance. I don't think it's appropriate for the County Board of Adjustment to permit variances without the input of the town, without the approval of the town. We have been enforcing this ordinance. We've done it in the last year or two on a couple of occasions, and we've had the ordinance in place for the last 25 years. I see no compelling reason here whatsoever to grant a variance.
Are you still there, Mark?
I am, yes. Are there any questions from the board? I also have my written comments.
I believe those are on the screen. Can people see those?
Yeah, we can see those.
And I will read those into the record when we get to the written portion of it.
Okay.
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 Mark, just for your information, the board does have the discretion to delay approval contingent upon the town's being in compliance with the town ordinances.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we have never previously had a request for a variance on this ordinance. We've had people connect dwellings with breezeways, a number of other things. My concern is that we just have, this has been kind of an off-the-wall situation all the way around, and we really do not want to establish a precedent for it. So I think that pretty much sums up my comments.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Krista, your third person was Rita Carroll, and she's representing the applicant.
Yep.
You want to bring her up? I can just ask her if she has public comment or if she wants to wait for the hearing.
Sure. Yep. She is unmuted now.
Rita, are you there?
Hi, yes, Rita Carroll.
Do you desire to make public comment? Or do you, I guess, what my question is, do you desire to make public comment, or is what you have to say, should it wait for the hearing itself?
I think it should probably just wait for the hearing.
Okay, that's what we were wondering. So,
Okay,
okay, you'll have ample opportunity to present. So,
thank you.
yep. Okay, Bob, do you want to read the? That's the last one, Krista, right?
Yes.
Okay, Bob, do you want to read the public comments that you have received?
Okay, so this first one is via email, and it's to the Dunn County Board of Adjustment in regards to the official notice of your office regarding the Alan Kruger special exception request to develop a 4.23 non-agricultural parcel on this property, which abuts our south property line. We respond, our farm is located within the town of Grant in section 30 and 31 as described within your notice. Our neighbor, Mr. Kruger, is requesting a non-agricultural plot abutting to the south of our farm in section 32. We truly appreciate the opportunity for our values to be considered. While we have no disgruntlement with the Kruger family, we strongly oppose the creation of a small parcel for a number of reasons. Number one, the town of Grant residents overwhelmingly support farmland preservation, and many resident farmers, as myself, want to preserve tillable acres with the right to farm. Our town is unique in the overwhelming support for agriculture and preservation of our farmland parcels. Many years ago, town residents bonded together to promote zoning for exclusive agricultural rights. By allowing exceptions, it would demean our mission of exclusive agriculture zoning and the rights and benefits which accompany this distinction. It is without doubt that each and every exception which splits 40-acre parcels of land may lead to an overrule of our zoning status, which has been sought after. Number two, it appears to us allowing a rezone of this property would create a small parcel, which we are assuming would then be converted from tillable acreage to housing development. Given this, it appears a nice plot of tillable land would be compromised. Many town natives and neighbors have been trying to keep tillable acres open for production and with minimal restrictions and residents' compliance related to machinery operation, crop management, manure chemical application, noise, etc. Once any type of development occurs, it would be virtually impossible to reestablish prime farmland, which is vital to our production for our food. Number three, Don was born and raised on our farm with exception to continuing education, a couple of years working out of state. This has been Don's home for over 50 years and Nancy's for over 35 years. We deeply treasure the rural character we're accustomed to and wish to maintain it as best possible. With rural housing being highly sought after, our countryside has experienced several new home sites. Allowing exceptions to the current zoning rules only promotes more housing development within our town, and which we strongly oppose to as longtime residents on our 3-generation family farm. Number four, Mr. Kruger has likely utilized the benefits of exclusive ag zoning to his benefit while he was actively farming. He should be well aware of neighboring townspeople's values with neighborly respect, follow exclusive ag zoning, which was likely in place before he acquired this property. Number 5, by allowing a rezone, and if development occurs, our municipality would likely incur a great deal of cost to upgrade the minimally maintained unpaved road 990th Ave past this property. This road has been basically a farm field access and minimally traveled, minimally maintained road for as long as our family can recall. Washouts are common from most heavy rains due to the severity of grades and lack of areas to divert water. Winter closure due to severe snow drifting and spring closure due to frost, boils, and unstable road base are nearly annual events. Our town budget would be deeply impacted by not only the cost to reconstruct 990th Avenue to this property for summer travel, but also to keep it open year-round during snow and mud season. As a past town board member, Don sees this as being a huge budget struggle for our municipality. In close, we affirm we are strongly opposed to any creation of small parcels and kindly ask the Board of Adjustment to uphold the minimum parcel size within our current zoning and our personal values as long neighboring landowners. Sincerely, Donald and Nancy Berg, N10115, 765th Street, Colfax, Wisconsin, 54730. 54730 715-962-3045. I received another written comment. This one was received on September 20th, and it's from Leanne Ralph. I am Supervisor 2 on the Otter Creek Town Board. As a town board member, I have several concerns about the Brad Ingram request for a variance to maintain and use multiple principal structures on his property in Otter Creek. Mr. Ingram has not come to the town board to talk about his plans for this property, so we really have no idea if he is planning to use the property for personal use, or he's planning a commercial use, or to rent the cabins he has built or that he's planning on building. The town board also does not know if the cabins are for seasonal use or year-round use. Since Mr. Ingram has not talked to the town board about his plans, the town board has not had an opportunity to ask the questions that we have. We have received a copy of the permit Mr. Ingram received for a vault privy, but do not know if the vault privy has been constructed or if there are multiple outhouses in use. The town of Otter Creek has a building ordinance requiring a 5-acre lot per residence. Dunn County also has an ordinance requiring only 1 residence per parcel. Mr. Ingram has not applied for or received a land use permit from the town of Otter Creek. I realize Mr. Ingram is asking for a variance, and that's what a variance is for, to grant permission for a land use that is not allowed by county zoning ordinance or local ordinances. My concern is that if the variance is granted, it will send a message to others in the town of Otter Creek and to those in Dunn County. Do whatever you want, do not obtain the proper permits, do not talk to the town board, ignore the ordinance and the zoning codes, and if someone objects, ask for a variance and you'll be fine. I have other concerns as well. How many people will be using the site? And is there adequate on-site parking? Will there be special events such as music festivals? Will there be enough space there at one time that people must park on the road? Is there a communication if emergency services are needed? Cellular service is not very reliable in certain parts of Otter Creek. And if there is no landline, how will the fire department or an ambulance be called if necessary? I realize that as a member of the town board, I have no authority to approve or disapprove Mr. Ingram's application for a variance, and that the sole authority for granting the variance lies with Dunn County Zoning Board of Adjustment. But because my concerns and lack of information as a member of the Otter Creek Town Board, I am not in favor of the Zoning Board of Adjustment granting the variance. Leanne Ralph, Supervisor 2, Town of Otter Creek. There's one more written comment, and this is from Chairman Warner, who spoke briefly, and this was received on September 20th, 2021. The town of Otter Creek requested the variance request to construct and use multiple principal structures on the Ingram property in Section 4 of the town of Otter Creek be denied. The town has a building ordinance requiring a 5-acre lot per each residence. The applicant is proposing to construct 9 cabins on the 20-acre property. The town board considers this to be a violation of our building ordinance. The applicant has not submitted any information about his project to the township for approval, nor has he informed the town of his plans for the site. Mr. Ingram did appear at the 2021 Board of Review to dispute the valuation of his property improvements. The assessor agreed to reduce the value of one of the 3 cabins to 0, being told by Mr. Ingram that the cabin was collapsing and not usable. Ingram also expressed his desire to have the location be a campground. Since the Board of Review meeting is limited to property tax issues, the board took no action on items outside of the scope of the Board of Review. The applicant has not obtained a land use permit from the township as required for his residences built on the property. The applicant has not complied with Uniform Dwelling Code requirements for these structures, such as UDC building permits and inspections. Is that my speaker, or is that everyone else hearing that?
I can hear it.
Here.
I hear it, but you're okay. We can hear you, Bob.
Okay. The applicant states on their zoning permit application that the proposed use for the structures is personal. The plan submitted with the application shows 9 cabins in the proposal. The scope of the proposal seems to go beyond personal use. Will the site be used for Airbnb rentals or similar activities? If the variance request is actually for a campground or for commercial rentals, the plan submitted should not be in conformity with applicable state of Wisconsin codes. No evidence of this compliance has been presented. The township sees numerous public health and safety issues with this site and the proposal. There are no provisions for gray water disposal. There is no well. There are no plans shown for the distribution of potable water. There is no electrical connection to the power grid or evidence of off-grid power supplies. Privies are the only source of sewage disposal for multiple buildings. There is no evidence that the access to the buildings is suitable for emergency vehicles. There is no washing facility shown. There are no provisions made to dispose of solid waste. The proposed kitchen does not show any plans for gray water disposal, potable water supply, washing, refrigeration, food storage, or for food waste disposal. There are no reliable means of contacting the emergency services from the site. There is no landline. Cell phone service is limited and not available with all carriers. Respectfully submitted, Mark Warner, Chairman, Town of Otter Creek. That's the end of the public comments that we have received, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Now we will go, Bob, do you want to read the public notice that was posted?
Yes, let me get to.
And I think, Bob, don't you think we should do Alan Kruger first, probably?
That's how it's listed on the agenda, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
So if you want to change that, you can, but I was going to follow the agenda.
Yep, go ahead.
So. All right. So this is the notice of public hearing in accordance with the provisions of section 19.84 Wisconsin statutes. Public notice is hereby given to all residents in the towns of Grant and Otter Creek that the Dunn County Board of Adjustment will hold a public hearing on Monday, September 20, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. The meeting will be held by teleconference. The first applicant, Alan Kruger, E8001 980th Avenue, Colfax, Wisconsin 54730, has made a special exception permit request to create a 4.23 acre non-farm parcel in an exclusive agriculture district, being a parcel of land in part of the southwest 1/4 of the northwest 1/4 of section 32, township 30 north, range 11 west, all in the town of Grant, Dunn County, Wisconsin, described as follows. Commencing at the west quarter corner of said section 32, then south 89 degrees, 33 minutes, 59 seconds east along the east-west quarter line, 335 feet. Thence north 00 degrees, 40 minutes, 19 seconds east, 550 feet. Thence north 89 degrees, 33 minutes, 59 seconds west, 335 feet to a point on the west line of said northwest quarter. Thence south 00 degrees, 40 minutes, 19 seconds west along said west line, 550 feet to the point of beginning of this description. The second applicant, Bradley Ingram of 672 Railroad Avenue, Chautauqua, Wisconsin, 54728, represented by Rita Carroll, agent, and 7124 Arbor Lane, Durand, Wisconsin, 54736, has made a variance request to maintain and use multiple principal structures on the property described as the south one half of Government Lot 10, Section 4, Township 30 North, Range 12 West, all in the town of Otter Creek, Dunn County, Wisconsin. This notice was published on September 1 and September 8, and we have received notice confirmation of that from the paper, and so that would be the public notice, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Then we will go on to the first applicant. Is Alan Kruger available?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So you can hear us?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, as long as you have him, you might as well swear him in, and then I'll go to the staff report, and then he's already sworn in.
Yep. Alan, do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. Please state your name and address, please.
Alan C. Kruger, E8001 990th Avenue, Colfax, Wisconsin, 54730.
Okay. In your packet, Mr. Chair and board, there is a staff report. I will go through the main points of that. If there are any questions, I can certainly attempt to answer them. And if I can't, then we have the applicant sworn in, and the applicant can probably answer your questions. Before we get going, I guess I would like to just note that, and we can finish this at the end of the meeting, but I resigned as a zoning administrator, and with us tonight is the new zoning administrator, and I will introduce her and have her talk to the board after the meeting. But Anne, if she is able to comment, so if Anne does comment, what she's speaking about. She does not need to be sworn in as she is with the county, but at the end of the meeting during announcements, I think that I'll introduce Anne formally to the group. She can speak to you guys and we'll go from there. But so that's who is also in the meeting is Anne, the new zoning administrator. So the background for this, the Kruger farm is zoned IA, and this is the base farm tract for Mr. Kruger, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 40s. And as you recall, a couple years ago, he was before the board for this parcel that I kind of circling to split off a piece out of there. So Mr. Kruger's property is zoned intensive agriculture IA, which is an exclusive ag district. In the IA district, the maximum number of non-farm residents is 2, based on a 20-to-1 farm to non-farm ratio, and 5 residences of any kind within the base farm tract. Mr. Kruger's base farm tract is 320 acres, and I just showed you a map of that. October 19, 2020, Mr. Kruger was granted a special exception permit to create a 2.64 acre non-farm parcel to encompass the existing home and outbuildings. This left one non-farm use in the base farm tract, which could be placed on a parcel no larger than 12.6 acres. That's what's remaining out of his farm to non-farm acreage. Mr. Kruger is requesting a special exception permit to create a 4.3 or 4.23 acre non-farm parcel. I would like to comment right here that in the public comments, the person speaking was talking about a rezone. We are not rezoning any land. That is not the purview of the Board of Adjustment, and so it may be that there was some confusion in that person's comments. But this is a special exception permit, and this is following the rules and regulations in the exclusive ag district that allows the creation of non-farm parcels.
And Bob, this also is in full compliance with the farmland preservation law, I guess.
It is. It is. I mean, and we can get into that, Mr. Chair, if you like, at the end of the staff report. If you have questions about that, I'll certainly I can answer those. But yes, it is compliance. So here's some analysis. I don't know that I need to go through and read all of that. I can tell you that that this is in compliance with the statutes of what Mr. Kruger can do, and so he is allowed to create one more non-farm parcel, and he's requesting that to be 4.23 acres. It is important to note that if the board were to approve this request, that Mr. Kruger would be out of any non-farm credits, if you want to call them that. He will have 2 non-farm uses out of his base farm tract, and we would not recommend approval of any other non-farm uses for the Kruger base farm tract. So number 2, there will be no more than 2 non-farm residents, no more than 5 residents of any kind in the base farm tract. Currently, there is 1 farm residence and 1 non-farm residence within the base farm tract. If the request is approved, the Kruger BFT would reach its maximum allowance of 2 non-farm residents, but 2 additional farm residents could be approved within the BFT. So just as long as we realize that you still would have some latitude for farm residents or farm building, but the non-farm uses, if approved, would be maxed out. Neither the non-farm and number 3, neither the non-farm residence nor the parcel on which the non-farm residence is located will convert prime farmland or cropland other than a woodlot from agricultural use if there is a reasonable alternative available to the permit applicant, or significantly impair or limit the current or future agricultural use of any of the protected farmland. So I will show you a context map of what's going on. So this is Mr. Kruger's farm, and this is roughly the area and the size of what he is proposing. As you can see, it is being cut out of productive farmland, but we feel that it is justified in that it doesn't cut out or limit access in and around to the rest of the farm, and so but just to be clear, this is being taken out of, and I don't know if it's necessarily prime farmland, but it is farmland. Dunn County by definition doesn't have a lot of what the state qualifies as prime farmland, and so but it would be taking farmland out to create this parcel. And then I will also show you that there is a preliminary certified survey map so pretty much this is the 4.23 acres. It does go out to the center of the road, or at least to the section line, and so it's 3.77 acres if you exclude the right of way is what the preliminary CSM is calling for. So the proposed CSM will convert 4.23 acres of land for non-farm use from what appears to be cropland. However, the size and location of the proposed parcel would not limit current or future use of lands on either side of the proposed parcel. And I showed you that exhibit. And then 4, the request includes a certified survey map, and I showed you that certified survey map. There is a special note that the board can't act on these issues unless we know that the town, in this case the town of Grant, has had a chance to comment on this, and we do have minutes from the town of Grant where they are in support of the proposal. And so Alan Kruger is looking to to lot out approximately 4 acres for building a house. Motion made by Mark Dees to support the project, second by Brad Johnson. So those minutes are in the report and in the file, and it just kind of well, I'll do with the variance piece in the towns at that point. So that is, and staff's recommendation is to approve. That is pretty much everything that is in the packet, and also the staff report. So are there questions that the board has that for myself or Mr. Kruger?
Tim Lenow, I have a question to ask, if I may, Mark.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kruger, in regards to the public comment, they had mentioned the poor condition of 990th. Would you concur that that road's in tough shape?
Yes, I would say it has been. My belief is not, it has not been maintained like other roads in the township.
And so let me ask you this, is the entire length of 990th a gravel, or is it partially paved?
It's partially paved.
Is it paved to the home farm there?
Yes,
Okay, but beyond that is where it's all gravel.
right. And up to where the proposed driveway is, the road is pretty decent. The most of the trouble on that road is past where the driveway for the proposed lot would be.
North.
In other words,
North, on the north end of the road.
okay, so north of the proposed property.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any plan in the future to upgrade that road to that property through the township? Are you aware of that?
Well, there was talk to the board, and they're considering doing some ditching on the side of the road where there's no ditch now. That would help with the washing of the road. I myself did not request any work done on the road because the road itself, I feel, is pretty good. We've been using it for years. You know, as far as the cost to the township and stuff, the tar road that I live on 990th, that portion, the last time I believe anything was done with it was back in the early 80s. And we have not complained. They have not put any money, you know, to resurface my road as they have in other parts of the township. So I feel that, yes, if they do fix the road up, there will be a cost to the township, but it's a cost to the township that should have probably been done over the years. I've lived there since '77. My grandparents lived there since the 1940s or so. So we are long-term residents too. And we've paid taxes every year to, you know, township to maintain roads and stuff. So I guess that's my belief on that part of the question.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions from the board?
No.
Okay. Oh, go ahead. Jill, did you have something?
No, I'm not.
Okay. I can concur. I happen to be the chairman for the town of Grant, and so I'm very familiar with this site. We went down and the town board went down and looked at it as far as driveway access and such. The road past Alan Kruger's farm that goes from N to this certified survey map going to the west. That is not, it's paved up to his buildings. And like he said, nothing's been done with that road as far as major repair. Probably, like he said, since 1980, but that's really not too uncommon in our town. We have some going back into the 60s. So the poorer part of that road is to the north from that intersection or from that corner. And as far as maintenance and stuff, if there's a residence there, basically it's kind of a cutoff road. I mean, you can get to N through another route. This is just kind of just a road that goes from N over to another town road. Actually, Donnie Berg lives on the other town road where this road ends up to the north of where we are here. So, and Donnie's right. We haven't spent a lot of money on it because it's very little traveled. The only time it gets traveled is during deer hunting. So I don't know if that gives any insight, but this isn't a rezone. And I can concur that when we did our land use plan for the town of Grant, I think 97% of the surveys that came back wanted housing limited. They wanted to keep the rural landscape, and they didn't want to have a lot of houses. The difference between I think what Donnie was on the board when we were under the old farmland preservation law, where you had to have 40-acre minimum or 35-acre minimum lot size to build a house. And so that if you look at Alan Kruger's, he has 840s. He could put 8 houses on his farm under the old law because he has 840s. Under the new law, it's more restrictive. It restricts rural housing more, and it tries to locate it. They really want to locate on non-farm parcels, that non-cropland. It happens to be that this proposed survey map, there's a steep hill there, and there's actually a fence line that goes through it. If you look, you can see a few dark dots through there. There's a fence line that goes through there from the road over to the woods. And the land to the south of that, down to the corner, is very steep. We wouldn't allow, the town board wouldn't allow to have the driveway up higher because it's a steep hill there, and we couldn't get the visual that's necessary for under our driveway permit. And so the town board recommended that he put the driveway down at the corner. And I think that's the only reason that the map goes farther south than that fence line was to be able to get a driveway in there, maybe without going straight up that hill. That gives a little more information. But the farmland, the other certified survey map that we approved, probably, I don't even know if it was a year ago, that was an existing farmstead that Alan owned. And that just lotted out the buildings from that farmstead. And that's a non-farm residence now. So, and like you said, you're only allowed in intensive ag to have 5 total houses, 2 non-farm resident houses. The other, if another house is built there, it would have to be directly related to the farm and its operation. So, so this complies with the farmland preservation law, and the new farmland preservation law is actually more restrictive than the old one. Under the old one, there could be 8 houses, 1 on each 40. This one here only allows for 2 non-farm residences. And under the old law, we actually had some people buy a 40 and they put a house right in the middle of the field. And so it kind of destroyed the farm, or the field. So this is trying to locate, the new law is trying to locate residences in more marginal areas. So, and like I said, from the fence row to the south, I would consider that a marginal area. That's a pretty steep grade. So with that, is there any other questions for Alan by the board? If there is none, Alan, do you have any other comment?
No, you kind of summed it up there. The reason for us putting that parcel there for the lot there. The lot is actually bigger than what we really need. So basically the only footprint will be the house, for the house and the driveway. The rest will remain in cropland. And so all said and done, it'll probably only be 2 acres coming out at the most. And I don't know,
because there was you only had 3.3 acres left, or I think I didn't write it down, but that didn't have the road right away in it. And so, and I don't think you're going to use all of that cropland, the other 3.3 for the house.
No, it would only be maybe
3.77, I see. Yep.
Maybe only 2 acres if that. I don't even know if it'd be that, maybe an acre. It'd be basically the house, and from the house to that road there would be, your yard and stuff, but where the cropland would come right up to the driveway, and on the north side, it would basically come where the woods, the tip comes out of the woods there. It'd be from there to the road. The other half of that lot would be all cropland. I'm selling that 4 acres to my daughter and son-in-law, and they're buying the whole 40 from me, but I want to sell the 40 to them on a land contract, and they do want to build a house up there. And in order for them to get financing, the bank won't take a second mortgage. They got to show that they own that land outright. So that's the reason why I'm separating that 3 acres out, or 4.2 acres out of that 40, so they can secure financing from the bank to build, and then they're going to buy the other 40, or the rest of the 40, I should say, on land contract for me.
The other thing that, and maybe you don't realize that, Alan, but the state requires it has to be surveyed out.
Yes, I've had it surveyed.
Yeah, I'm just saying you surveyed it out so they could get financing, but the state of Wisconsin requires it to be surveyed out under the farmland preservation law.
Oh, that I did not know.
Yep, the lot needs to be surveyed out anyway, whether it's for financing or other purposes, but
Oh, I see. Yes. Okay.
just to meet the requirement for the allotted acres that can be used for non-farm residents.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I understand that.
Yep, so,
That's why I'm doing this now instead of trying to sell the 40 acres to them and then have them go through the same process.
yep.
Since I did it last year, I thought I'd do it now. So I guess that's all I have to comment on it.
Is there any other questions from the board then? If there is none, is there a motion to approve or disapprove? Anybody?
I'd move to approve it, Mr. Reporter.
Is there a second?
Second, Crystal Halverson.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the, I forgot what it is, the variance?
Special exception.
Special exception. To approve the special reception, exception. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thanks, Al. And we will move on to the next applicant in the hearing.
Bear with me while I bring some of this up. So we already went through the public notice, and so this is the staff report that we have, and I'll go through this. It is in the town of Otter Creek. It's zone general ag, and the parcel is 20 acres. And we don't have the applicant or the landowner here, but we have Ms. Carroll here, who is acting as agent, and she is sworn in. So if there are questions that I cannot answer, possibly Ms. Carroll can. So this is really an odd thing from a zoning standpoint as well. I mean, we got notice of this, that the applicant was bringing on some metal storage containers, and wanted to place them on the land for storage. And we informed the applicant that well, that requires a permit. And then once we looked a little bit further into this, then we realized that, and it's probably been happening at least more than 8 years. We can't really figure out, or couldn't figure out when all of this activity began, but it's been going on for quite some time. And so what we found is that there were, in addition to a lot of the outbuildings, that there were 3, and we call them cabins, that they have on there, but they're when we went and inspected, they're, I would really qualify them as living quarters. There's a bed in there, but there is no the information from the people commenting. There is no water, no well on site. There is no power. I believe they have a generator for something, but they don't really use the generator. They have no plumbing in those buildings. We did require them to get a state approved privy, and that has been done. And so there is a state approved privy on there for the sanitation needs. So in talking to the applicant, we found that there were 3 principal structures, those living quarters, on there, and we informed the applicant that that's contrary to what the county ordinance would allow. And so we walked through several options with the applicant. One being that he could subdivide the land and put each parcel on its, or each cabin on its own parcel. that wasn't something that he was necessarily interested in or didn't want to go for that. You can combine them all into a single cabin. Well, you know, in practical terms, that's not going to happen because they're not in close proximity to each other. So that's really not going to be a viable option. Apply for a special exception permit for a campground. The applicant did some research into that, and it was through the part of that is for that permitting for a campground is through the state, and it's through the Dunn County Health Department, and the health department really didn't find a mechanism that they could really work to classify it as a campground, and so that option also went by the wayside. And so, you know, barring making them do something else up there, the only other avenue is the variance, and so the applicant is applying for variance. Unlike a special exception, you know, that comes before the board, variances do come before the board, but the county ordinance does not require us to send the applicant to the town asking a town opinion. We do always recommend that they speak to the town so that they understand, you know, what's happening at the town. But we also then, out of courtesy, we do notify the town of any kind of activity as a variance that is happening in their town, and so that is how the town came to know what was going on. The public notice talks about multiple houses or units on a single parcel, and that is true. But what we aren't looking at is and I'll see if I can't bring this up. So this is the context. This is where they're at in the world. What I'm looking for. Did that not show up on your screen?
Hasn't showed up yet, Bob.
Yeah, so I got to get that to come over to the other side. Here we go.
Yeah, you're talking about the site plan, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about just our GIS map, but I can't get that to come up on this screen for some reason. Let me just move this
You're
over.
gonna have to stop your screen sharing and then start it again.
Okay, all
on
right,
that page.
thank you. So let me bring up the context map, and I will start sharing.
Krista,
Yes,
can you hear me? I can't get a picture anymore. I'm sorry to interrupt.
that's okay. We can hear you.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
It's my hotspot.
So I'm having a real issue getting this to show up on the screen that I want. Let's see, there we go. All right, now I can share. All right, has it started sharing now? Here we go. All right, so there, now I can enlarge that. So this is the context of where they are, and then I will bring up the map. I think that the chairman of Otter Creek was referencing. And I'll see if I can't scale this down. I've had a So this is the map that when we first started working with them, the applicant, this was the map that they showed us, and when they're looking at possibly a campground, and so the chairman of Otter Creek is exactly right. That does show that there are 9 cabins, you know, three existing. That means that they were looking at that time for 6 more. But in the staff report, we talk about that what they're asking for, and I'll bring that staff report up. So they are looking for a variance for the 3 cabins that are there. And that is what this variance is about. So as noted in the narrative, the petitioner uses the property for family gatherings, huntings as religious retreat and to experience living off the grid. None of the buildings are plumbed, no water. The sanitations are met through the use of an approved privy, the outhouse. Originally, the petitioner was going to request a special exception permit to operate a campground. This would allow the existing and future cabins, outbuildings, and storage containers to remain on site. For a variety of reasons, that option was abandoned. The only reasonable option that fit the petitioner's current and future plans was to ask for a variance, allow the existing cabins 3, and he's asking for a 4th to be on site. So just to be clear that this is not for 9 cabins. It is for the 3 and maybe the 4th, and so we went through our recommendations or our thinking on this. Part of the reason that staff is recommending approval is this has been going on for quite some time, and we're not exactly sure when it started. We can't get a timeline on any of when all this activity started, and so we are willing to draw a line in the sand and say, let's just go forward, but then there's no more. There will be no more cabins on there. And so staff's recommendation would be to, if you were to approve the 3 cabins, and that's it. Like I said, the applicant is asking for a 4th. It's difficult for zoning to say, well, let's approve. You know, there's a problem that we know about has been ongoing, and it's difficult for us to say, but they want 1 more, and you know, that's a hard pill for zoning to swallow. But it is what they were asking for, and the board would be in line or would have the right to approve that. So your options are, you know, you could deny. You could approve 1, 2, or 3, or 4 of the cabins, and so those are your options. And I can see, Mr. Chair, that Crystal is raising a hand. Can I call on her?
Yes, go ahead.
I was wondering, to clarify first before we hear from Rita, can you tell me right now, with these 3 buildings on the property of 20 acres, what exactly is wrong with the current state of affairs? Like, what is allowed up there in Otter Creek?
Yes.
On a 20-acre property?
I can't speak to what the town's ordinance is, because those are the town's ordinances and what the town can enforce. I can speak from the county's ordinances and what the counties would enforce. So the county ordinances says that, you know, you need 1 acre minimum for a principal structure, and we allow 1 principal structure per parcel. This is a 40-acre parcel, so by our ordinance, they could have 1 on there unless they created 2 more parcels to encompass the other cabins. So that's the issue we have, is that county ordinances says one principal structure per parcel, and essentially they have 3 principal structures on a parcel. Okay.
Now, Bob, how do you define a principal structure?
Well, it's the principal structure is the intended it's the highest and best use, and everything else is subordinate or accessory structure. So normally a principal structure is a home, and the accessory structures are outbuildings, sheds to support that home. And so here they have a home, be it's not traditional, but it is a residence, or it is a principal structure where there is living quarters. That would be a principal structure to us, because it's not an accessory structure to something else. That is the primary structure.
But is it somebody's home?
It's any more than a cabin is not somebody's home, and that's a principal structure that for temporary use. So it doesn't have to be full-time use in order to be a principal structure, but you know, a residence, living quarters, from a zoning standpoint, that is the principal structure, and everything else on there is storage. And those would be, in support of the principal structure.
And is there a
does that
way
help?
that, it kind of helps, but I'm not totally clear. Like, is there a way that, is there a way that we define what a residence is? Like, if they took the bed out and it was just a building that didn't have any plumbing and didn't have any other thing, is that a residence, or is that no different than my barn?
We would not consider that a principal structure if they took the beds out of there, and because now it would just be storage.
Really? Okay, so these okay.
Well, I mean, the fact that they're using it to live in temporarily, spending the night and using it, that's a living quarters, and that's not storage. If there weren't beds in there, I don't know that we would have it. We could say, well, that means you can't sleep on the floor, but.
Yeah. I guess
So I don't want to go down that path.
What I'm coming at is that this isn't I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but
Sure.
This isn't a primary residence for any one person. This land is not occupied year round. So if a guy has 14 deer stands on his property and every single one of them has a cot sitting in it, is that the same as what we're talking about? Or like, are these, do they have concrete pads? I don't know how you determine what's the difference between what makes something a residence. Like, to me, a bed sitting in there does not a residence make.
But we're not talking residence, we're talking a principal structure. So this is not their primary residence. We're not saying that. What we're saying is that it's the principal structure. And so the principal structure is the building with the living quarters in it, and every other building on there is an accessory structure. So, if you only had sheds on your property, we could say, well, those are really all just accessory structures, because they're all,
okay.
They don't support something else. All of the other accessory structures are there to support, the principal structure, in this case, living quarters. And so it's not their residence, but there is living quarters.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry to start off that way.
Oh, that's a great question. Yes.
So what you're saying, Bob, is that these principal structures basically are housing people when they're there.
They're living quarters, yes. I mean, there are beds in there. Granted, there's no electricity, there's no plumbing, but our ordinance doesn't require them to have that. But they are the principal structure because there's living quarters in there.
Well, when we bring up Rita, obviously they must use a generator. There must be some electricity used in the kitchen, I would guess, but probably wouldn't have to. I guess you would.
When we were out on inspection, it's very primitive. I mean, so I don't recall that there was a conversation about a generator, but I've had conversations with other people, so I may be mixing stuff up. But I don't there is no power, there is no well. They carry the water in, and I guess if they get cell service, they get cell service, but there's no landlines, there is no electricity. And part of at least what the applicant in their report to the board is that they're trying to experience living off the grid. Now,
Bob, is there I guess I probably should have paid attention, but is there a fire number on this driveway?
Oh yes, there's an address. There's an address
to this land, to this.
Yes, there's an address. Yes, so there's a fire number.
Okay. Bob, can you explain to the board, obviously, the town of Otter Creek has ordinances of their own.
They do, apparently.
And according to their clerk, there's no land use permit. She wondered about an inspection, plumbing at the kitchen, and such. I mean, the Board of Adjustment, that's why we meet, is to kind of clarify all these things
Yes.
as far as the information that we're given.
Yep.
Um,
So, Mr. Chair, normally, there have been no permits pulled on any of the structures out there. And so we had no clue, zoning had no clue that there was anything going on. Normally, for the permitting process is that we would get the application, we would review it to make sure that the use is allowed. And so, and if that use is allowed, then we'd make sure that the setbacks are met. And if the use is allowed and those setbacks are met, then we would issue a zoning permit. The zoning permit then would allow the applicant to, and when we issue that zoning permit, we also notify both the town and the building inspector so that those people are on notice that we've issued a zoning permit. And so the building inspector's radar would go up because he knows that there's going to be a structure going in, and the building inspector would then go out and inspect for UDC compliance, not the county. So our process is one that lets everyone know, what's happened, and we are first in line behind, and then the building inspection and the town could follow suit after our zoning permit. But and so we are aware of some towns that have ordinances, but we can't make the applicant go to the town, nor can we make the applicant follow the town's ordinances. We can make them follow the county's ordinances.
Yes, I understand that. What I'm wondering, the town should have its own, even if this is approved, the town should have its own means to enforce the ordinances.
Yes, and I'm not an attorney, but if the board were to approve this and the town disagrees, well, they could challenge the board's decision, or if the town says, all right, well, Mr. Ingram, you're not meeting our ordinances, and so we're going to take you to task, and they could enjoin the landowner in court if the landowner wouldn't follow suit at the town level. And so I empathize with the town, with what's going on, but we really can't meddle in the town's business. Just because they're not our ordinance. But you're exactly right that the town could take them to task, which is what maybe the town may end up doing it to get their ordinance approved. Even if the town were to deny the variance and the county went through other proceedings, the town could still go after the applicant, to follow their ordinance. And so they don't have to wait for the county. They can proceed on their own.
The question I have, Bob, the question that comes to mind is by us considering this and getting the information that we have, are we meddling in the town's authority?
Well, I would say no. We're not reviewing the town's stuff. We're not commenting on the town's authority. We're not acting on behalf of the town and saying, well, that you have to have 5 acres and a land use permit. We're saying that you have to have our stuff. And that does not step on the town's toes from pursuing the applicant. Regardless of what the county decides to do, the town can still pursue their ordinance based on the fact that they have those ordinances in place, and those ordinances are enforceable by the town.
Okay, I want to, if it's okay with the board, I'd like to bring up the agent, Rita. Is it Rita Carroll? Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Krista, can you bring up Rita Carroll, please, to speak for the applicant?
Yes, on.
Hi, this is Rita.
Yeah, okay, Rita. I have you been listening to the discussion?
Yes, I have.
Okay, go ahead and present what you would like to present to the board.
Okay. I would like to give a few past facts. Brad bought this property in the year 2013, at which time he applied for a driveway permit. And I believe that Mark Warner came out and inspected the property, and we were approved for that driveway permit. And never told at that time that there were land use permits required by Otter Creek. Whatever, that's at this point water under the bridge from 2013. We built a cabin in 2014 on an existing structure that was there, that was dilapidated, and we resurrected that from the ashes, so to speak. That is the one that is presently in dire need of a new foundation, something underneath it, because it is sinking into where it came from. These cabins, I believe that one measures 16 by 20 feet. So it's small. There's a propane cook stove, and I cook on the wood stove. If I do dishes, it's in 2 small dish pans, and yeah, that gray water gets dumped into the woods. We had an outhouse that has now been approved, and we're moving forward with that. We have another small cabin, 12 by 20, that is now the sleeping cabin, where if Brad and I stay there, that is where we stay. And then a friend of mine from Idaho has a cabin, and he hunts deer during deer season there. So not a one of these structures is a permanent structure. We all have other addresses. As you can tell from mine, I live in Durand. I go there to the cabin, and I probably spend more time in my storage unit, which is set up with my tools. And I build things and refinish furniture and spend a lot of time outdoors. I didn't know that Otter Creek had their own land use permit. When we were at the town board meeting, not one person there mentioned a land use permit, past or present. And we asked if there was anything that we needed from them. Not one person said anything about that. So I explored through the state of Wisconsin, having more than one structure, any kind of structure. I was directed then to the campground. And when I talked to Keith Bergeson from Dunn County, after interviewing and sending him all my information, this is just for our personal use. We are not looking for an Airbnb. We are not looking for any type of monetary revenue coming from this stuff. This is just our own personal use. And the kitchen that is in the process of being built will not have any. Right now, we are off the grid. There is no electricity. It's going to have wood heat. Water we carry in. Yeah, we dump that gray water right back in the woods. 1180th Avenue is a dirt road. On both sides of us, on 3 sides, 4 sides, even across Double S, is all managed forest land. There aren't any other people that live out there. And like I said, we don't live out there. So the cabins are small. Yeah, there's a bed in them. My cabin has a small desk, and that seems to be piled with nothing but clothes. I'm not sure what else you want to hear.
Does the board would the board like to ask questions of Rita?
I would. Tim Lee now.
Go ahead.
All right. Rita, with Bob's help, could you get that map up of the different structures on the property? And could you let us know which one of those circles and arrows here is where you live and where your friend from Idaho lives, and which one of these areas are the primary residents?
I want to clarify, this is Crystal. There are no primary residences and nobody lives here. But I think Tim means to ask, which cabins do you own?
The one see where it says greater than 200 feet off of County Double S at the top of the map?
Yes, I see it.
And there's a 12 by 16 cabin. That's the original one, the one that needs
16 by 20.
construction work.
Yeah, that's a 16 by 20.
Right. And then the other two that are there are 12 by 20 down off of, right
Okay.
there, Bob.
Yep.
That one and the one next to it. And when I applied for this permit, I was told by, is it Janice, I think, in the county office?
There is a Janet.
Janet, yep. And she said, fill out everything that you think you might do to this property. And if you don't get it done in 2 years, you apply for an extension and you just continue to work on it. So that's what I did. So a lot of these say future on them. And it's just our own little, call it a village if you want. But the other proposed cabin that we are going to do is for Brad's children. And it would just have a bed in there. Because I don't want to sleep with a 14-year-old kid.
Understandable.
Sorry.
Can you show us that? Can you describe, Rita, where that one, where this, what would be cabin number 4 would be?
That's down by one of the future cabins. It's, right. Nope, not quite there. There's 2 arrows. It says more than 150 feet right there, Bob. That runway. Yeah.
Thank you.
And that one's just going to be a small one, like 8 by 12 feet. And it's just call it a sleeping chamber. And he's only there part-time because he spends time with his mother in Colfax.
Bob, the issue is, from what I understand, is that the county the county allows 1. There's currently 3.
3.
Just for clarification from Crystal, the county allows 1 what?
1 primary structure per parcel. Principal structure. So they have 3 principal structures. We classify those as ones with the sleeping quarters.
Yeah, this is an interesting one.
Yeah. And none of these have a permanent foundation underneath them?
No.
Go ahead, Rita.
The 12 by 20 cabin that I sleep in has a slab underneath it, a concrete slab.
Okay.
But it just sits on it because we were told by other supervisors, not Otter Creek, but if it wasn't attached to the ground, it was not a permanent structure. And that was our original belief.
But the county doesn't.
They're Amish cabins. They put them on skids.
Oh, okay.
So I can only apologize that we were maybe ignorant about that fact, but we we thought they were temporary. They can be moved, but they cannot all be moved to make a big conglomeration of one large cabin.
But just to be clear that the county requires a permit even for temporary structures, because we don't have a definition of what is temporary. And our ordinance says that if it's 100 square feet or greater, then it needs a permit. And so the fact that it's temporary it isn't of consequence to zoning, because we don't know what temporary means.
Right, and I didn't either, and my bad. I did pay the fine for being late. So I'd like to be absolved of that sin.
Well, I don't know. This is a puzzle, Bob.
So
Go ahead, Crystal.
yeah, I'm just still perplexed by what is a dwelling and what is a principal structure. I'm just thinking about, like, these are buildings that are built on skids. We've all seen them for sale. She could pull them off the property, or Brad could pull them off the property. And they are not anybody's primary dwelling. The state of Wisconsin specifically defines dwelling and says dwelling and dwelling unit do not include a primitive rural hunting cabin, which is what I would describe this as, whether or not they choose to hunt out of it. And I'm just thinking about what else is out on our landscape, little buildings that have been plunked down in the back 40 that are not where somebody sleeps all the time. There's a piece of me here that feels like how we define principal structure is what matters. Like, if this is 3 equal cabins and a kitchen in the middle, well, I'm a food-based gal, so I'm saying the kitchen is the principal structure. And the other 3 are, we're sleeping there so we can cook out there with our fire and throw our water in the woods, just like we all do when we go camping. I don't know. I'm inclined to feel like I need more information to understand this is not a development. It doesn't appear to be a campground. How is this different than a bunch of hunting spots that might have cots sitting in them?
It is.
I don't know about the 100 square foot rule.
The difference, Crystal, is that they're all on the same parcel.
So a person can't have more than 1 hunting unit per acre on a parcel?
Principal structure.
So if I had 20 acres and I had 5 deer stands in it, I'm in trouble?
Well, a deer stand isn't a principal structure. That's a deer stand. You're not sleeping in the deer stand. You're not living in the deer stand. So
I'm struggling with that.
I get it. Yeah. So we're back to the issue of a principal structure and an accessory structure, and we consider those, because of the living quarters, the sleeping quarters, we consider those to be principal structures. Everything else is an accessory structure, and so it doesn't matter that it's a private permanent residence. It doesn't matter if it's permanent or temporary. It's considered the principal structure for this land, and everything else is accessory structures, and we allow 1 principal structure. That's where we're at.
And is that about the beds, Bob? If they took the beds out of 2 of the cabins, would we be okay?
They wouldn't be they would be storage at that point. Yeah, I mean, they'd be like anything else that's out there, all the other buildings that are out there. So no.
So it would be okay if they took the beds out?
It's an accessory structure, yes.
Jill, go ahead and speak.
It is very frustrating listening to this, but I get back to the fact that we have always said, as long as I've been on the board, that if things haven't even come to the town for their approval or disapproval, we usually send it back and say
we did come to the town.
The difference is, Ms. Noreen, is that for variances, our ordinance does not require us or the board to have the town's opinion. Special exceptions, it is required for the town to give their opinion. So the difference is what's required in the ordinance in terms of what we follow. And so right now so that's the difference. The reason that they didn't go before the board, or we didn't send them before the board, or that we don't have minutes from the board, is that it's not required of our ordinance to do that with a variance.
And I think, I don't know how this is going to go, but even if this is approved or disapproved, Rita, it appears to me like you're still going to have to deal with the town.
Right, and we did go to a town board meeting. In fact, Brad was at 2 of them, one with me and one without me. And the second one, they had talked about the taxes. So everyone there knew that there was more than one structure, however you want to classify them. And not one person ever said that we had to have a land use permit. And we asked, what do we need from here? Because I'm working with the state, I'm working with the county. Not one person at the town ever said, well, we have our very own land use permit that you have to fill out and qualify for. And so I feel like I have been blindsided right now. We did talk about this.
Yeah, it sounds like from the chairman's comments that when you were at the board of review, which wouldn't be considered an official town meeting. I mean, it's a separate legal entity by itself. But apparently there was discussion about a campground at that time.
Right, and that was deemed that we don't qualify as a campground because we are not renting any structures to the public. We don't advertise, we are off grid. Even if we were a campground, we would be a primitive campground. And then there are different rules and ordinances that would apply to us, but we don't qualify for a campground because we are not renting structures.
How is it that the supervisors and the chairman are very against this and not lending any support? And I don't understand the process in which the township you've gone through. It was very clear on the previous one that Grant Township had a meeting and they approved it and was all good with it. This one, we've got multiple supervisors and chairmen speaking out against this. Is there a way that can get squared away with the township so that we're not?
I agree.
Honestly, right now, I'm feeling like they are a little hurt that we didn't show up at the meetings, just because Brad and I are such wonderful individuals and have such a great rapport. So I'm feeling like there's some hurt feelings there, but we did ask about permits and I believe they were supporting us.
So I'm sure that my notes are not as good as Andrea's, but I wrote down that one of the people from the public comments said that they have a minimum of 5 acres per dwelling. And one of them said they had a minimum of 5 acres per residence. And I know I'm being a stick in the mud here, but I just feel like we got to figure out if we're talking about dwellings or residences, because I don't see that we are. I don't know what a principal structure is. I don't know if you can have more than one and have them all the same and have them tied for first or whatever. But I know that we are not here to decide whether or not the applicant is aligned with the Otter Creek Township's rules, but I didn't exactly hear that it was clear that they weren't, because I don't think that the applicant is a resident or has a dwelling. So
when Brad asked about the driveway permit, he was told that these were not residences or dwellings. They're just, at that time, they said they were temporary structures. And again,
Well-
that person who talked to Brad never said you have to have a land use permit in Otter Creek Township.
I don't know, I guess I know the Otter Creek chairman reasonably well, but I would assume that when you got the driveway permit, you hadn't really developed it to the degree that it's developed now.
Right. But it was,
Initially, so there wouldn't have been any question as far as dwelling that existed or whatever at that time, because the driveway would be the first step. And I think I don't know, I don't know Otter Creek's ordinances either. When Bev Bernier, the clerk, said that there's no land use permit, I don't know what encompasses their land use permit, the necessity for a land use permit, as far as what type of improvement or whatever would require a land use permit. I don't see a big issue with this, with the outhouse being state approved. As far as that aspect of the sanitation, I mean, that is pretty common with hunting our recreational cabin. We have several of them in the town of Grant itself, and I'm sure probably there's some in each rural township like that. What's unusual with this situation to me is that there's 3 cabins rather than having one larger one with multiple rooms. And I can understand why it's that way. But I think typically when you're talking about if you're talking about a hunting shack or something like that, with multiple people using it, usually there's just one structure rather than 3 or 4 or whatever. Even though these are small, and so I don't know if that it's a big consequence. I'm wondering, Bob, I'm wondering if I guess I'd like to let will the board have discussion on, they have 3 there now. They would like to have this variance include a 4th. What is the board's opinion on that? Don't everybody talk at once.
Yeah.
Jill, go ahead.
I'm struggling understanding the 3, but I get, because we have a cabin with an outhouse. But I don't think we're at a position where we should be agreeing to have a 4th cabin. I mean, they haven't even, I don't think they've got a good enough plan yet for that. She's talking, said they haven't even fixed up the first one. And I just think I would probably be all right with the existing structures, but not a 4th one for that amount of land. It doesn't make any difference.
I'd like to hear from everybody. So Jill, thank you. Somebody else? Should I just call on you, Tim?
Yeah, basically, I'm I'm kind of in the dark on this. We're usually dealing with more traditional construction and places, but you know, everybody kind of starts on their own. I have a little history with Bullfrog Springs and kind of understand how that started. Very kind of a hard start but I kind of understand where people have kind of start out with things and then things seem to change over time. It's not up to our board to find out what your future plan is. I see there's some places here and there, and we have additional peoples that are going to be part of this grouping, so to speak. I would feel comfortable at this point with the primary spot, the one that's there, that's on a slab. That seems like the most permanent. The other two are temporary structures at this point. I'm going to ask Bob a question here. In the event that, say, this fourth place was needed, or is on the drawing board, so to speak, or it exists already, I'm assuming it does, would they need to come back for some type of a variance approval?
So I'm struggling to find that that drawing again here, but so zoning is very clear. They're requesting a variance because zoning says you can have one. You grant the variance or you don't grant the variance. Let's say you grant the variance for these three. The only way that they're going to get the fourth is to subdivide, create its parcels for that one to be on, or combine it with another one that's already there so that it's a larger structure, or they'd be back before this board asking for another variance. And the, I think that well, I won't hear that. My guess is that zoning's position would be, we bent the rules once because of a variance, but that's not a game plan that says, okay, we'll just keep coming to the board. Zoning's, if my recommendation, if it was before me today, would be if they came back for the fourth one, say deny it, because there are other options. They know of the other options. There are other things that they can do. Zoning's my recommendation would be to deny it, the fourth one. But again, that would be something in the future. But so we're asking, a variance is a big deal. We're asking the applicant is asking us, the county, to bend its rules just for them, this one time. And so that doesn't give them the carte blanche to say, well, then we'll just come back and ask for it again because you'll keep on approving. This is a unique situation, and we're treating it as a unique situation, but that doesn't mean that the fourth is going to get the same kind of support from the county.
Bob, is the granting the variance is to allow the other two, right?
The granting the variance is to allow a total of three.
Yeah, rather than one.
Correct.
The three are already there. The fourth one is not built.
Right.
Oh, we understand.
In our zoning permit that I filled out, I was told by Janet to put down any structures that I was desiring to build.
No, that's just good planning. Yep.
We just want to be able to maintain what we already have.
Yep. Crystal, do you have an opinion on the fourth?
Me, opinion? I am struggling with this because I feel like if somebody built one gigantic cabin with water and electricity and cable and 12 bedrooms, that has a larger impact on this property and for neighbors and the streets and everything else than just happening to have your sleeping quarters separated. When I look in the Dunn County ordinances, it looks like they define a structure and then they define a principal structure as the main structure on a lot. And I just don't know how you define the main structure. I feel like, is it the biggest one? Is it the one with a bed in it? My feeling tonight is that I would absolutely approve the current use of the property, and I would probably be amenable to approving as many buildings
But-
that house a cot as this person wants to build, but that's not up for discussion tonight.
Gerald?
Yeah, hi. Personally, I'm struggling with this a great deal because I don't think the building should have been there from the first place without a permit. And so none of them are legal. And why would we have 3 or 4 when we shouldn't have any? And have bypassed the county, have bypassed the township, have done all this with only a driveway permit. I'm not very in favor of it.
Can I comment on that to Gerald?
Yes.
That we do have the building permit now. And like I said, I paid the fine. So we are legal in that respect because we do have the zoning permit now.
The building permit, which one? The one and only that.
The one now for 3 cabins.
No, we have,
They're not allowed.
Bob, clarify.
so you don't have a zoning permit for the 3. We would have issued an after the fact for the single, and we still have the problem with the other 2.
Okay.
So the after the fact is for 1, whichever one you would like to hang that on. The other 2 are non-compliant, and that's the reason that we're here.
Okay, and we thought that we were covered when Brad originally asked about that and was told that because it's not a permanent structure and not our main physical residence. So
No, well, I don't know who at zoning would have said that. It's not our policy, and we haven't said that in the past. We're very clear, or at least we try to be very clear that what requires a permit and what doesn't, and just about everything requires a permit.
right, that was when he got the driveway permit. So he was looking forward and
Well, that's
asking.
with the town. I mean, when you talk to the county, I don't know that we would have said anything more than you're going to put a structure up, you're going to need a permit.
And Bob, can you clarify what that line is for me? Like, what does clarify a structure? These are temporary structures that could be hitched up to a truck and driven away, to my understanding. Am I right about that?
I don't think that's what she's saying. She said it was built on a slab.
But
Yeah.
No, it's built on skids.
But
It's
just
built on skids.
Yes, okay.
just to be clear from the county's perspective is that, we require a permit. We consider a structure is anything that's built on in the land, whether it's permanent or temporary. That's a structure. We can classify that. We have not gone down the path to figure out what is temporary, because that would mean that we have to have a timeline as to how long it's temporary. We don't have a definition of a temporary structure. So we don't consider the fact that if you're going to put it on and move it off, it still requires a permit. And if you put it on and take it off and you bring it back, it's going to require another permit. And so that's just how our ordinance is set up.
So is a deer stand a structure?
Excuse me? Yes, a deer stand could be considered a structure, yes.
Depends on how elaborate it is.
Well, no, I mean, a structure, is anything we could consider anything that's permanent, temporary, on or in the ground could be a structure. We also say that a permit is required for if it's greater than 100 square feet. We have permitted treehouse because it was large enough to permit, and so it comes down to how big is big, and if it's greater than 100 square feet, unless there's some extenuating circumstances, it's going to require a permit.
And are all 3 of these cabins greater? Were they all 10 by 12 or 10 or 16 by 20 or
All over 100.
All over 100.
All over 100?
Can I ask about the storage containers? Are the storage containers present today? And What's the plan for that?
for storage. One of them is my she shed.
So you brought in shipping containers,
Yeah.
large steel shipping containers.
Yeah, 20-foot container.
Oh, my God.
So those now are permanent structures.
Accessory structures, right?
They're accessory, they're permittable structures, permanent. We don't want, try not to use permanent,
Excuse me.
if you're trying to figure out if it's a structure.
We would need a permit for that.
Correct.
So now we're not only talking 3 cabins, we're talking about how many storage containers?
And that was the kind of the after the fact with the storage containers and the one cabin is that they came in after the fact, and with those storage containers, we said that's going to require a permit. They're already on site. Well, then that's an after the fact. And so but a permit is required.
So there's 1 cabin in storage containers today?
There's 3 cabins, that we'll call them that. There's 3 storage containers, and there's multiple outbuildings still beyond that are beyond the storage containers.
They were all brought in or built without
Permits. Yes. Everything was built or brought in without a permit.
Bob, I don't know if this is appropriate or not, is Mark Warner still online? Or can we talk to him?
Oh,
Or would that be inappropriate?
You'd have to swear him in.
I'm just trying to figure out.
Online. He's not online.
He isn't? Oh.
I am online.
Oh, okay. I don't know,
Hello.
just a minute, Mark,
Hello.
before, yeah, I can hear you. Before you say anything, would the board like to hear from Otter Creek?
Yes.
Yes.
Joe says yes. Gerald?
Yes,
Tim?
yes.
Crystal?
sure.
Okay. Mark, I need to swear you in, so if you're going to testify,
Yes,
you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
State your name and address, please.
Mark Warner, E5847 1170th Avenue, Wheeler, Wisconsin.
Have you been listening to the whole discussion?
Yes, I have. And I do have several observations to begin with. At our board of review meeting, Mr. Ingram approached us and told us that there were 3 cabins there, and our assessor had just put them on the tax roll. He protested the valuation based on the fact that one of the 3 cabins was in ruins and unusable. So I think what we're talking about currently are 2 cabins, not 3. And I think we should keep that in mind. And I think the fact that one of them was already in ruins indicates one of the reasons why we think granting this variance is inappropriate. We don't encourage the kind of development in this township that we think is inappropriate to the character of the township. We have in the last year, we had 6 structures built in our township, all nice homes. Mr. Ingram was building a nice home in it, but there would be no issues whatsoever with the township. He would go to our clerk, get a land use permit. He would get a county zoning permit. He would get the UDC inspections. We would be happy to have him build a home. If he wanted to build a cabin with 5 bedrooms and septic and go through the process, that would be fine with us. But we really don't want structures that are falling down. And then we're told to take them off the tax roll because of that. I guess we don't expect the county to enforce our ordinances, but we don't think that the county needs to give variances willy-nilly. If there was a good reason for that, fine. Everything that's happened on this lot is a self-inflicted situation. We're not responsible for it as a township. I did grant them a driveway port ordinance years ago, and to the best of my recollection, I was told that they might want to build there at some time. That does not mean that I need to inform them of all the township ordinances. I just issued a driveway permit. I'm aware of one town board meeting that Mr. Ingram was in attendance at, and like I said before, that was a board review meeting. And at the time, he told us he wanted to do a campground. We've got our township building ordinance information on our town website. It's not a secret. Anybody can look it up. We generally try to work with the residents of the township. I'm not sure what else information I can give you on this. Are there any questions?
Bev typed, your clerk typed in that there's 3 cabins and one falling down.
Mm-hmm.
So is there 4 total?
I haven't been in the property. Generally during the summer, a lot of what's back there is hidden from view on the road. There are 2 that they claim were usable and that were just added to the tax roll. And the third one, like I said, was taken off the tax roll because we were told that it was not inhabitable.
Oh, the assessor should know that for fact. So.
Yeah, and that is what the outcome of our board of review meeting was. Remove that from the improvements.
So one of those cabins isn't really.
The cabin is not falling down. And I spoke at that board meeting. I said it needed new structure underneath because when they built it on the existing structure, which was already there, we did not put a slab under it. We didn't put block under it. The guys put wood under 3 corners, and the 4th corner was built on a tree stump. That tree stump has since decayed. So the cabin is tipping. It's not that it's falling down. The whole structure is not in disarray, which, I can show you other places in Otter Creek that are in absolute junk situation, but we're not talking about those right now. Ours it's in dire need of some work, but there is a great expense to be able to lift it up by 4 feet, block it up, and then crawl underneath and prep that ground for concrete pillars or a slab underneath it. And that costs money.
Yep. Does anybody on the board have a question for Mark Warner, for the chairman? No?
Nope.
I guess one other thing, if you can kind of play a shell game here. You can say that it's a primary residence if there's a bed in it or not. Once you granted the variance, the shell game's going to end. You can say there's only one bed, one primary structure because there's only one bed in one building, and the others are storage buildings. But we all know that those storage buildings can become something else again. For example, a bedroom or some other structure. So I think that, we're opening a door here, and I think it's a door that is going to open in a lot of places. If we want to set this precedent for the township, if the supervisors think that it would be fine for people with a small acreage to put as many cabins on it as they like, be careful what you wish for, because we're not the only township here. I think there's a number of them that, number of people that are going to say, hey, I can do a B&B, I can do Airbnb, I can do this, I can do that. And you're going to have, you're going to open a can of worms.
We aren't
So
doing that. We aren't doing that, Mark. We are simply a family trying to have separate sleeping quarters. There is no
Yeah,
can of worms. If there was, we wouldn't be even having this discussion right now.
I think for the Board of Adjustments purposes, I think we have enough information, Mark. Appreciate your coming back on.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
I think that's being active on a town board myself, that's always the biggest concern, is a precedent. You're always concerned about a precedent and what it might lead to. Not necessarily that it's one thing starts out bad or one thing starts out good, but it's more of the precedent that you look forward, looking at forward at. This one here, I don't know, this is, I don't know, do we need more discussion?
I don't understand the precedent about everyone being worried that we're going to do something different other than spend time with our family.
That's not the precedent that I'm speaking of. That's the precedent is having more than one sleeping quarters on a piece of property that could be used in a different way than you're using it. And that's the precedent I'm speaking of, you know, not what you're doing, but what someone else might look at and say, well, if they allowed it on this many cabins, if you want to call them that, on this, you know, I can do this. I should be able to do the same thing. And
but that's why we're here, to get that variance. Not that, and it's not an easy thing. I can't imagine anybody else wanting to go through this.
Well, no, the only reason that we're here is because permits weren't gotten for the ones. Otherwise, we'd have been here a long time ago.
Yep, I've already begged for forgiveness, please.
No, I understand that. I'm not thinking that you're dishonest or anything else. I'm just trying to figure out. Anyway, does anybody have, any other board have anything else, any more information that they think they need? Anybody?
I mean, we just have a comment. I just have a comment for the board, which is that I think I've been on this board for 8 years, and I think there have been several instances across those 8 years where people have failed to get prior permission, and we have granted them their current situation. And I think if this was a beautiful hunting cabin with 5 bedrooms in it, I can't imagine this board deciding to create a situation where we would be asking them to tear it down. And I want to recognize that everybody has different means and different desires for the use of their property. And a simple or cheaper use of property should not be less worthy or allowed than a very fancy use of property. And we've allowed some things that were very fancy and right up against a waterway, or, you know, built without the permission, but too late. So that's my thinking right now.
R6.
Yeah, most of the variants that I can recall have been too close to the lot line, you know, something like that, on a separate parcel and wanting it to remain a separate parcel. And we kind of dealt both ways on that. approved the structure, but required the combining of the two parcels. That was on Lake Tainer, I think.
Yeah.
There's point to be made on both sides of this, I think, because of the way it's being used. I can understand fully town's concern. So I don't know. Somebody want to make a motion to approve or disapprove, or I don't know. Are you ready for a vote? We got to decide this. And I think, Bob, well, I don't know how to, sometimes we put a approval on condition of meeting the town's requirement or something like that. I don't know if that is something that would be appropriate on this thing, or
that's a tough one. I don't know that.
That's
Hey,
yeah.
Bob,
I just
sharing your screen.
Go ahead, Jared.
I just wanted Bob to have him stop sharing his screen so we can all see each other.
Thank you.
I can see you all.
Yep.
Thank you, Jerry.
There he is.
So go ahead, Jerry. Or do you have anything else to say there? Or?
I guess my comment would be about meeting the town's needs first, but you guys can make a motion, I guess.
Yeah. Any comment on that, Bob?
I don't know how to say that we're going to hold our ordinance or approval up based on you getting approval from the town. I think that, in the past, what we've done is there are certain things that the county needed to have done that we will put a condition on, but I guess I'm not sure on that one. I would say if you wanted to go that direction and it passed, I guess we would have to just see if it survives a challenge. It doesn't seem reasonable to me to place the county's decision, hold up the county's a decision for the town. But again, that would be the board's decision.
And if we grant this variance, we are not holding up the town from still going forward and saying this is illegal for town, correct?
Or if you deny it, you're still not,
Either way,
stopping
yeah.
the town. Yes.
Yeah. And Bob, can you remind me, was the original official application for 3 cabins plus a future cabin?
So the original one from that I put on there was for 3 cabins, and then in talking to the applicant, she informed me that there was a 4th. I'd like to have a future one, and so I put the second piece on there. But to be clear, zoning isn't too keen on that one. We are drawing a line for the 3 for a variety of reasons, but to add the 4th wasn't something that zoning was too keen on.
And these 3 structures would be these sleeping structures, and this in-process kitchen that is being built is not at issue because it is a secondary.
Yes, and we would grant a permit for that. Yes.
And that's separate from this conversation.
Absolutely.
And then you are all cool with any other buildings that are currently on the property, like a storage unit or a shed or a garage or whatever.
We've talked to the applicant, and they have come around with an after the fact permit for those.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion to grant not a special exception, but whatever this is. What is it?
A variance.
sorry, a variance for the 3 cabins that are currently in existence on the land and no more. But
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Well, we probably should vote, rather than by hand, we'll have to do it by voice. So, Gerald,
I vote against.
Jill?
I vote against it as well.
Oh dear. Crystal
yes,
and Tim?
Yes.
I should have went first. This is a puzzle. My gut feeling is to say no. And simply because there wasn't I mean, I can understand an after the fact building permit or a zoning permit for 1 or 2, but we have 3. And so I'm going to vote no. I would, having said that, the motion fails. I would, for me, I would entertain a motion for 2 rather than the 3. Is anybody interested in doing that?
I'll make that motion, but I am very concerned about how we decide which one we kill. I mean, whose decision is that? I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion that the applicant must tear down one of their cabins, of their
I don't know that
hunting cabin, primitive hunting cabins.
they don't necessarily have to tear it down. They could combine it with another one.
Or create a parcel.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion that to grant a exception for 2 of their primitive structures.
Is there a second?
Pickle.
I guess just as a point of discussion,
Well, we have a motion on the table. If we don't have a second, there's no discussion.
no,
And you suggested, Mark, that you might second this motion.
yeah, I will. I just wanted to, I'll second that motion. Now for discussion. My concern is that my concern for voting no on the first motion was that we not only have 1, but we ended up with 3. And and like Crystal said, you know, we've agreed to, I'm going to say, bend the rules to permit some things that the landowners weren't aware of. But it wasn't the 3, and it was more of an individual case, individual structure, and so my feeling is that 2 is more amenable, not only in my opinion, but hearing the full testimony from the town and the public hearings and everything, or the public comments. And that isn't to say that they can't add to the existing structure, you know, to have another bedroom or whatever. Am I out of line, Bob?
Would require a permit.
Yeah, it would require a permit. But I honestly think that that is a reasonable compromise on this. And maybe you disagree, maybe you all disagree with me. I don't know. It just bothers me to approve, and maybe some would say, well, if you don't approve all three, why would you approve two? I see it more as a compromise to make it amenable to the applicant and probably more amenable to the town boards or to the people in the township, to try to stay in line with their, I'm going to say, policy and their ordinances that the townships and the people in the township have agreed to. And so with that, is there any other discussion?
It's a tough discussion.
Well, it is. This is an unusual thing. We don't run into this very often. Matter of fact, I don't think we run into something exactly like this ever. But you know, they have an approved sanitation facility, and from all the testimony that we've heard, it's basically run like a campsite. The cooking and the washing and so on. So I'm not sure. I guess it would be, in my opinion, as far as if it's more developed than that, the township, when the assessor assesses, the township would have to bring something forward to in their ordinance or whatever, as far as the gray water and other things like that. But as far as the sanitation is concerned, from the testimony that we've heard, I think it's adequate. Is there any other discussion? Otherwise, I'm going to proceed for a vote.
I would just like to say thank you. I'd like to say thank you to the town officials that came by and stayed for this long call. I do appreciate your testimony, and I also really appreciate learning that all the rules that you have are posted clearly on your website. You know, I think it's clear that this applicant did not get everything right as they improved their land. And I do want this board to recognize that if someone went way back out on their very back area of land and built a $2 million mansion that would bring in a lot of tax revenue to a small town, I just don't know if we'd be asked to do the same, to make the same decision. And I'm conflicted about that because, you know, we're all in dire straits in these rural communities and we need our tax revenue to come in so we can get our work done. And not every applicant is going to generate the same tax revenue to our towns. But thanks for everybody for the conversation.
Can I still be heard?
We're in deliberation now, Rita, so no, I'm sorry. I think, Crystal, to you know what the point you made, if somebody built something out there, typically we have, and they've gotten their past building permit late. We've generally went along with that. That would be a little different than this in the number of people involved and such. And the living quarters and the sanitation, the whole works is a whole different thing. But anyway, like you said, I appreciate the full discussion that we've had. And I'm going to call for a vote. Gerald,
No,
Jill,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes,
Crystal.
Yes.
I made the motion, or I seconded the motion, so I will say yes. So hopefully there will be no more things built there unless all of the ordinances are adhered to. Okay, well, that's the end of our hearing. I appreciate everybody taking a long time. I mean, that's what you want to try to do. You always try to do the right thing, and hopefully we did. And we don't always all agree, and that's happened before. And so I hope we put this one to rest, Bob.
Yeah, well, I will tell the applicant to sometime in the very near future to contact our office, so that we can go down the path of figuring out which two are covered with the variance and which one isn't, and then we can talk about the options of how to deal with that other structure. But so if you are ready to end this portion of it, we could go out to announcements, Mr. Chair, and then I would like to introduce the new zoning administrator and have her give a chance. I mean, I know it's a long evening, but
So Krista,
wait, I think that Gerald has a comment.
I'm sorry, if I drop off, it's because my battery's dying. And
Krista, I'm closing the hearing. So the live stream can discontinue and just leave the board up. The Board of Adjustment up with Ann. Is she